so that way I can splice it up as I need to. And then I'll ask you the question and then you can just give the answer. And that way I'll have like the question and then the response sort of deal.
Okay.
So in a few sentences, describe your organization.
Okay, so we are a nonprofit organization based in Southern California that has one simple mission: to stop the climate change, to stop the climate change, to stop the climate crisis. And we focus on effective local policy action to achieve our mission.
And how long have you been doing that?
We started in 2015, so we're a little over 5 years old.
Wow, that's amazing. So I have a feeling this was something you were passionate about before starting CAC, Climate Action Campaign.
Yes. So I've been working on environmental policy in and out of local government and nonprofit organizations. And it started with clean air and clean water, and it just kind of morphed into this larger threat of climate change. And so we have, and so I was able to help write the city of San Diego's climate action plan, and then realized we needed to build a broader political movement on the outside to help the elected officials be brave and bold. And so I started Climate Action Campaign to sort of galvanize the community and make sure that we were ready and focused to embrace some really ambitious climate policies.
Let's do this thing. We need it so bad. That's awesome. Yes. What do you love about working at CAC?
Because I get to marry my passion with my job, and I think that's pretty rare. And it's something I genuinely believe in my heart is the biggest threat to humanity. So the fact that I get to make a living out of, hopefully helping to position ourselves in a safer, healthier way is like a dream come true.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, very few people actually get to bring these two things together, and the fact that you get to do that and have such a huge impact on a global scale, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Agreed.
Is there anything on the horizon for Climate Action Campaign that you're excited about?
Yeah, I mean, the best part of my job, honestly, is mentoring and facilitating the success of my team, because they're all the younger generation, and I can see very clearly the pathway that they're on to be part of this movement long term, and they're going to be essentials to sort of getting it. We've sort of kicked off the movement, and really, and I say that as Gen X generation, but I feel like we position the movement to win, but it's really going to take the next younger generations to get it across the finish line. And so I'm really excited about where my team's going to be, and how they're going to, continue to grow into their own confidence and positions of power, but also within the political system. And so I'm very excited to see how they grow and develop and how they make the world a better place.
Like a proud mama over there is what I'm hearing.
Yes, definitely.
That's awesome. What is one thing about CAC that you want people to know that they may not already know?
That politics is a really tough business, and it, as I always say, it breaks your heart, it crushes your soul, because change is slow, and there are very powerful moneyed interests who are hard to defeat. And I think people don't know the grind that my team is in, the relentless push for positive change, and how hard that is. And that, just understanding the scale and scope of not only the crisis, but the work it's going to take to undo kind of this fossil fuel economy that we're in. And so I would love people to understand kind of just how challenging and rewarding too when we win, but also just, what my team does on a day-to-day basis is extraordinary. And I think I would love people to understand that and appreciate it. And ideally then themselves get more political, and because democracy and taking on these powerful interests is we're not going to win the fight unless we get broader engagement, unless people are really telling their, especially to me, local elected officials, why they want their local official to be bold and take a stand and stand up to powerful interests. So I'd love people to know kind of what it takes, and also why their voice is so important to back us up. Like we can't do much if we don't have the community behind us. So I'd love people to know that we need everybody engaged and involved.
Yeah, I can imagine the emotional toll.
Yeah, really. Yes, that's a good way to put it. Emotional toll. It is very hard. And that's what I mean. I'm, part of what excites me the most is my mentorship, because my job kind of is teaching them and training them on how to stay resilient and how to obviously take care of themselves so that they can stay in this fight for the long haul, because that's what it's going to take. So yeah, yes. And I have seen the challenge, I've seen them all go through really challenging times and sort of question, like, is this worth it? And I know they believe in their heart it is. And so I think it would be great if the public and the community sort of understood what they're doing and why they're doing it and how important and valuable their work is.
Yeah. I'm curious, has the pandemic changed the trajectory of anything? I mean, you see all the cars off the roads for the last year and some of those things, or do you find that the break just actually catapulted things because now people are going to come back with a vengeance? I'm curious your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, maybe some things will change. I think more people will start working from home. I think, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, to be determined. I mean, maybe people see the value of more work-life balance, and spending quality time with family, and why that's like meaningful to make happen. But I'm not too optimistic about our carbon emissions and the global economy sort of just gearing back up again to go full speed. And I understand, but at the same time, unfortunately, it's still powered by dangerous, polluting fossil fuels, and so thus I don't see the trajectory going down, unfortunately, which is like what every scientist says we have to do to ever have a chance, frankly, at surviving in the long term as humans. And thus, I don't think the pandemic is going to be like this pivotal moment in history. When it's like, oh, everyone finally gets it, and everyone's fighting to change the system, because it's not really about individual behavior. We're all cogs in this system at this point. And so I don't blame any one individual, but certainly we are all responsible for kind of, fighting to help change the system so that it's, geared toward benefiting the public interest over corporate private interest. But that's a slog. And yeah, so I don't really see the pandemic changing that, but hopefully, that we, over the years, we have consistently built consciousness and awareness. And so that, so it's less about the pandemic. To me, it's more about the sort of, the steady momentum that we've built over the years to keep people engaged.
Yeah. I was just curious if, like if there was actual data yet that showed like, hey, when you had the cars off the road for this amount of time, like you had an instantaneous effect on the temperature. And it'd be curious to see if that data was, what that said.
Yeah. So we definitely there is data that shows a reduction in, especially from, like you said, cars and trucks. There's definitely a reduction, more than energy use, because people still use energy at homes, and more than they traditionally do because they're home all day, obviously. But yeah, on the car emissions and truck emissions, absolutely pollution, there was a reduction, and they quantified that. But the problem is the pollution that we've emitted, for decades now is baked in. So there isn't much 1 year is going to do to, it's like not going to have a direct impact on temperatures, like right on the longer term baked in impact. That's like, yeah, we have a lot to unravel, but I agree. I mean, it's at least we can point to it and say, remember when,
yeah, or at least some evidence
air
that shows, hey, when you do change your behavior, then things change, but if you don't change your behavior, then things don't change, sort of idea.
Yeah.
period.
So
That's awesome.
well, we use every tool. So if we need to point to the pandemic and like, hey, remember when you didn't drive to work every day and you work 3 days from, I mean, but that's only, certain people who have that privilege to be able to work from home. So we have to be mindful of all these inequities and, realities baked into other people's lives. So that's again why I focus less on individual behavior and more like how are we setting up a system that benefits everybody or that, changes kind of the main energy source behind all of our activities.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. So I'm going to pivot to a little bit of the case study questions.
Okay.
Now, thank you. That was awesome. So first question is, before you started working with Concilio, what challenges were you facing?
So we are, almost a startup organization and growing fast. And it was hard to keep up with all the growing administrative and staff development issues at the same time as, working on these high profile, high powered political campaigns and still really only having one person, me, as kind of the most seasoned player in this space, both administratively and politically and in the policy arena that we operate in. And so it's just, how in the world are we going to meet everybody's needs and take care of everybody, make sure everybody has the support they need, including me. So, from top down, that everyone's got the tools and the support and kind of the infrastructure, the longer term infrastructure and systems that we're going to need to set up so that we can grow mindfully and successfully. And so I think that's what we were missing. And that's, that has been what we needed Concilio to do and why we brought Concilio in.
That's great. So thinking about that, that's that challenge and solution. What made you ultimately choose Concilio?
Well, Concilio came highly recommended. And so I can't say we did a thorough research. I can't say we did a thorough analysis of like all the options before us, because that's what the position we were in was like, can someone help us tomorrow? Because we had so many challenges, sort of coming at us really fast and we needed to act. But, the research we did do was like, what's your experience in working with Concilio? And it was, we got a really positive response from different people in the community. And so we decided to go for it. And obviously, we had some initial conversations and I thought it'd be a good fit. So it's just a combination, I think, of, having that good feeling in our initial discussions and at the same time getting that validation from people that I trust in the community, their judgment that they thought that it'd be a good match. So we sort of went with that.
Excellent. I'm just letting a little bit of time come between each of our questions. So from a cutting perspective, just so you know,
please.
I'm not doing some weird pausing.
Oh no, do whatever you got to do.
Okay. Now that you've been working with Concilio over 13 months, how have things improved? What changes have you seen?
Yeah, I think there's been pretty dramatic change again in our infrastructure and the systems that we've set up internally. So now we have an employee handbook. We know like when a new employee comes in, beyond employee, like there's obviously the employee handbook that applies to everybody, new or existing, but specifically how are we going to train a new person? And then how are people going to develop work plans that they can meaningfully develop and meaningfully implement and, hold themselves accountable more so even than having me hold them accountable. Like how do we get people to understand, how to create those roadmaps to success and then, mutually figure out execution with our KPIs, something none of us had ever heard of, but I guess is a term that everybody knows in the business community, but I'd never even heard of it. So yes, now we know what key performance indicators are, and even just developing work plans, like I said, and just kind of having those opportunities to figure out how to check in and adapt and be flexible, but at the same time, keeping our eye on the prize. So I think that piece has been game changing. Like I said, people taking accountability for their own commitments. The systems we put in place, financial too, have had a huge kind of awakening on if we were going to go through a professional audit. Like, we had a lot of work to do to get our books ready in order. Because again, we're just a startup nonprofit. We didn't really come into this business with those kind of skills. So I think that we got help from just the administrative side of things. Oh, let's see. And then for me, just how to be a good boss, which helped other managers too, and how to have successful supervisee relationships, but always knowing how to make sure someone feels supported, encouraged, and validated, valued, and then ultimately is given the opportunity to grow. And so we had some one-on-one mentoring sessions, and I think those have been, from all accounts, really important, and making people feel like they got special attention and thus special opportunity to build skills they didn't have before. And that I just didn't have time to do as the kind of sole executive in the organization. We built out our leadership team, so we're trying to build out that executive level of the organization. We're ready, like, in case something happens to any of us, we sort of know what to do, including me. So the team, the organization's going to live on. I can't imagine it without
me.
It's just every facet of how we look at the organization, our thinking, long-term, medium-term, short-term, how to handle crises like COVID, how to handle the pandemic, how to build work plans, how to be accountable, how to think strategically. We're just in this mode of continuing to push ourselves and to grow. And I think everyone has really embraced that idea and owned it. And that's again been part of why I've been so excited about my team, the mentoring, because it's really seen people come into their own, and they needed that support to make it happen. Because again, there's only so many hours in the day, so much that I can actually pay attention to. So just getting that additional layer of support for the team, for the majority of the team, has been invaluable. And so we continue to use Concilio on not quite as intense a basis, but it's still an integral part of our operations and policy work. So is that helpful? That's really rambling. Sorry.
No, you did awesome. You gave me a ton of sound bites in there. That was
okay,
perfect.
Good. I was gonna say, can you
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I cut the hell out of that one, girlfriend. You gave me a lot of good stuff there. So thank you.
Okay.
And then just one last question for you. If you could share one thing about Concilio, what would it be?
I would say that Concilio is Concilio wants you to succeed. And so they're meaningful partners in helping an organization grow and thrive. And so it felt like a partnership more than, and it felt like there was investment in our success that was just as important to Concilio as it was to our team. And that, I think that's really important. And the team felt that. And that's where, a little bit skeptical at first, and then became hugely receptive, and then started asking for more time and support. So I view that as like that. They believe Concilio like had our best interest at heart and was really looking out for us, and will always look out for us, and want to see us continue to evolve and grow.
Drop the mic, girlfriend. That was awesome.
Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm rambling, but
you're like, oh yeah, no. And I appreciated the way you just took a minute to kind of feel into yourself, and you know, that was awesome.
Okay, good. Sorry, now I have to do my next thing.
You're like an interview stud over here. You got your paparazzi and
oh, dude, yes. I mean, not that I'm an interview stud, but yes, my days are. I mean, they're different. No day's the same, that's for sure. But yes, I have like 20 things going on.
Keeps you on your toes.
Are you good?
You crushed it. Thank you so much for your time. I'll work up some stuff and I'll email you if I need anything else.
Perfect. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a great weekend. Bye.
You too. Bye.